Welcome, everyone. This is SatiSeva, and it is an affinity group associated with Recovery Dharma. It is an exploration of mindfulness. In the Buddhist tradition of the Noble Eightfold Path, we hear about wise mindfulness. We know that mindfulness is present time awareness. And in the West, we're really engaging with a lot of mindfulness, particularly in Western therapeutic approaches. They really borrow quite a bit from the ancient perspectives of mindfulness. SatiSeva is a collection of 16 different mindfulness practices that are curated toward the issues of recovery. There's a book associated with it called SatiSeva, Reimagining Recovery and Support. This was published by Lo and I back in September. And so for the month of December, we've just been meditating on sort of a summary version of what it is, and then opening up this space for people to ask questions and get some clarity if there's been anything confusing. Starting in January, we're going to be reading it very slowly, a couple of paragraphs at a time for our practice, and really taking time to meditate on these mindfulness wisdom nuggets, really. So let's begin our practice today. And let's begin on the meaning of Sati Seva. It means literally mindful service. To support yourself, to support others on the journey of recovery. And this is recovery for anything. So while we generally think of recovery as being only associated with drugs and alcohol, the truer, more in-depth approach to recovery includes all the negative habit energy that arises in our lives consciously and unconsciously that serves to inhibit our magnificent self. And it continues to perpetuate misery when unchecked. So, to be of mindful service to oneself on the journey of recovery is really to cultivate a whole new way of approaching oneself, approaching one's habit energy. And I think the most important quality to cultivate is curiosity. I think sometimes one of the most playful and fun ways we can meet ourselves on this journey is to pretend that we are strangers and we are meeting ourselves for the first time. Every once in a while, I play this game with myself, and I usually it's happens in this room in my house called the gathering room, and I have a big mirror there. And if I walk into this room, into this space, and I turn the corner and I see the mirror, I pretend that I'm surprising myself. Oh, hey, you. And I pretend I'm seeing myself for the first time. Hey, you. Who are you? What are you up to today? Tell me a little something about yourself. And by doing this, I open up a little bit of a curious space to be surprised by myself. And I'll tell you something, my habit energy is to tell myself something about myself that's negative. It's almost like an automatic, well, Yeah, let me tell you how I screwed this up today. Let me tell you how I did that unskillfully. Let me tell you about this negative relationship I have, and on it goes. And so, one of the habit energies that I've been working on is that propensity to lead with negativity. And I practice using an instrument of peace, a tool of SatiSeva called, well, that's true, and not the whole truth. So when I catch myself in that habit energy, leading with negativity, some kind of negative story, I think I was conditioned to believe that it was somehow an expression of humility or modesty to kind of be self-deprecating and to put myself down. But repetition has shown me that it really is diminishing. And not only that, it serves as a lid that I put on all the things about me that are positive. So when I lead with something negative, I remind myself, oh, yeah, that's true. And it's not the whole truth. And the minute I hear, and it's not the whole truth, that's the invitation. That's the little bell to say, hey, what else is true? Maybe we can say something positive because the negative and the positives about me make the whole of me. But I've been engaging in a habit energy that has overemphasized the negative. So I'm shifting that habit energy and I'm supporting myself with this tool. That's true. I don't have to be intimidated. I don't have to defend the story or make excuses. It's simply true. That's true. I was unskillful. Okay. What else is true? Because in this situation, I was highly skillful. Can I balance it out? Can I balance it out? So let's embody this as part of our meditation today. And let's remember that in the body, we have this physical, ancient physical vessel that is constantly harmonizing itself. So the right side of my brain controls the left side of my body. Look at those opposites. The left side of my body activates the right side of my the left side of my brain activates the right side of my body. My nervous system is constantly moving in and out, side to side. Drop into your body, friends. How does it feel from one side to the next? Notice that when we're looking at a binary point of view, two sides, sometimes those sides are in opposition, and sometimes those sides are in complement. So while the relationship with the hemispheres of my brain are in opposition to the functionality of my body, at the same exact time, that opposition is creating this beautiful complement. That's the real majesty of non-duality, the bothness. And so, if we put it into spiritual terms and we put it into, say, the stories we tell ourselves and the habit energy of inflating one aspect of a story versus the other aspect of the story, we're not here to elevate what we've been denying ourselves as a way of getting rid of anything else. We're simply trying to reinstate some balance, some harmony. So, for instance, in my relationship to my own habit energy, my propensity to lead with negative storytelling about myself, I'm not reminding myself to tell the positive story as a way of getting rid of the negative. It's simply to bring harmony to both. That's the brilliance of equanimity, upeksha. And in that process of harmonizing that duality is a whole lot of the mindfulness practices in SatiSeva, things like awareness, space, acceptance, play, nurturance, pause, presence, and so on. Today, I very simply want to bring forward one of the mindfulness practices called being with distortions. And I want to share with you a very sweet and sort of somewhat silly real time experience that came into my awareness yesterday. So I love to bake holiday cookies, mostly because I love holiday cookies. I love to bake them. I love to eat them. I love to share them. And I have this wonderful book on all kinds of different Christmas cookies, holiday cookies, soft and chewy, crisp, nutty, ooey gooey, chocolatey, and so on. And there's been this one cookie that has intimidated me for years. And the story I tell myself is, Julia, you're not good enough to make that cookie. It's too complicated. You won't be able to figure it out. You can't do it. And every year I earmark this book to make that cookie. And for years, I tell myself that story. And this is about cookies. It's so silly. And I'm sharing this with you as an example of how the stories we tell ourselves can erupt in the seemingly most innocent and silly ways. Mine is, I can't make this cookie. This cookie is too complicated. Now, imagine how that voice, that story, that narration lives in me and is implied in other ways. I can't repair this difficult connection I have. It's too complicated. I won't be able to do that. I can't address this craving I have. It's too complicated. It's beyond me. I give up. I'm not going to do it. So, yesterday, I was baking these cookies and I looked at that stupid recipe and I was just like, today's the day. Damn it. Today is the day. I am going to make a fig filling pinwheel cookie. So I made the dough, I refrigerated it, and I spent all day long avoiding making the filling, avoiding addressing this cookie. I made the dough, but I wasn't able to assemble it. I was just avoiding it. I was scared. I kept coming back to it, blah, blah, blah. I can't. Yes, I can. Back and forth. I can't. Yes, you can. I can't. Yes, you can. Over and over and over again. And I kept breathing and I kept making other things and I kept at it. So I had finished everything else and it was time. It was time. It was a come to Julia moment. So I read the recipe for the fig filling, and wouldn't you know, I didn't have all the stuff. I didn't have raisins, but I had dates and dried cherries. So that went into the simmering pot. I didn't have apple juice, but I had applesauce and a little bit of water. So that went into the simmering pot, along with some orange juice. And there it simmered into a beautiful little sauce, which I put into a pulverizer type thing. And then I made this filling and I rolled these pinwheels. And no, they are absolutely not magazine perfect, but they are absolutely Julia perfect. And I did it. Now, here's the thing about this story is because I have a habit energy of leading with the negative, I could almost see myself entertaining and hear myself entertaining, Julia, what was all the fuss about? Like, you really need to get over yourself. It was right there on the edge. And I just had to keep telling that voice, no, not today. It was a lot of fuss because I was working on this legacy story of no can do. I don't even know where it came from, but I've spent years slowly shifting it, working with it, growing in my awareness, cultivating some patience, some kindness, some tenderness. And I'll be damned if I'm not going to treat my success with anything other than praise and encouragement. And would you look at that? No one's going to give me an award. No one's going to give me a gold star, but I am. And that's how we do it, friends. That's how we work with these distortions that we all have. We stand and we face them. We get curious about these distortions. We nurture ourselves so that we can meet that distortion, meet that story with gentleness and openness, with encouragement and praise, with a willingness to take a risk and make a mistake. And most importantly, friends, we remember that time is a faithful companion. It takes time to work these distortions, to sit with them, to understand them enough to shift them. It takes time to sit with craving. It takes time to understand the way anxiety and depression and grief arise in our life and teach us. So we come back to the body. Our two-sided right and left, front and back, top and bottom body. Always in opposition, always in complement. And our body is a mirror to life. The natural world, what's happening outside of us, is also what's happening within. So come into the majesty of your body. It knows how to balance itself. Allow yourself to be in your body with comfort and ease. And then create some space to work with the mind and the heart. Take a look at your thoughts. Notice if they're hyper fixed on something negative or inflated in the positive. Notice how that makes you feel. Take your time. There is an ancient wisdom within you that is slowly emerging. And I know this because you're here practicing. For the next few moments of silence, let's just breathe together as a community, breathing in, breathing out. You can even assign a mantra, breathing in, I accept myself as I am. Breathing out, I accept myself as I am. You could say something like, breathing in, I am not okay, if that's how you are. Breathing out, and I am okay, because we're always both. Breathing in, I can do hard things. Breathing out, I was created for that. Your wisdom knows the mantra it needs to hear. So let's create some silence to listen deeply. And remember, friends, enjoy your practice. friends. I could spend a lot of time in my past looking back at memories, things that seem clear but may not be. They're clear only through the eyes of 7-year-old me or 10-year-old me. And the reality is that while those perspectives and those experiences were real, I was probably missing some things as well. So the point is that there's so much about what dictates the stories I tell myself from my past, but also from my ancestors, their legacies, their history, the things that they never learned, the things that they learned well. All of that is still alive in me. And so when the things within me that arise that I don't like, that are unskillful or hurtful or things that I still need to learn, there's something about the invitation to learn, to change, to heal that feels really important, not just for myself, but as a way to pass on to the next generation something more skillful, something a little bit more healed, so that my children, for instance, aren't burdened with their own stories, their own histories, but also my legacy of my unhealed, harming, unlearned things. So I want to be able to pass on to my children and the next generation a legacy that has degrees of healing so that their burden is less. That's what we're doing here. And one of the ways to begin this is the profound action of simply recognizing the duality as it lives in us. To accept it, to see it, and to allow it to be a teacher and a guide. I think this is a profound way to live a life that is sacred, loving, and whole. Let's end our practice today by taking 3 deep breaths together. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in nice and slow. Breathing out really slowly through the mouth. Breathing in. Watch your belly rise and your lungs fill. And when you exhale, watch your belly contract. But for the next 40 minutes or so, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your questions, anything that's coming alive. I will tell you that Lowe sampled my fig pinwheel, and I think it was okay. Oh, Michael, let's hear from you. I see that your hand is raised.
Hi there. So what you were saying about um, negative self-talk and beating yourself up is such a huge thing for me. I struggle with constantly. And recently I had a fairly traumatic situation that really kind of caused me to question myself quite a bit and the wiseness of my speech and actions, even though at the end of my analysis, I feel pretty confident about the decisions that I made and how I handled the situation. But for the last week, it's just been a really tough road of constant, um, I call it going around the fence, like a dog, where you just kind of can't let things go. And so much of that rumination was just beating myself up and um, part of this equation was an argument with someone, and just hearing that person's voice going back to the points of their contentions over and over, and me sort of almost like I'm preparing for trial, coming up with my case and defending myself. And it just became this constant unending struggle in my brain, waking up with crippling anxiety. It felt like a gut punch to my stomach. And it's only now today, actually, the first day that I've woken up and not felt completely horrendous. And this all happened last Friday. So it's been a solid week of horrible feelings. So just curious what you suggest in that situation. Obviously, I was trying to do all the things, but it's a lot easier to do when everything's going well and very hard to do when everything blows up in your face. So anyway, thank you.
You are so welcome, my friend. What's coming alive for me when I think about this is wrangling alligators. Now, I know that's bizarre. I know that's a bizarre example. So bear with me. But here's the thing. Whenever we're in relationship with someone, whatever that relationship is, we have to remember that there's two people in that relationship. And sometimes when it helps me when I'm dealing with somebody that's difficult, for example, is I put them in the scenario as an alligator or a crocodile. And what that does for me, and I have to wrestle them and I have to deal with them. And what that does for my mind, anyway, is it teaches me to recognize that I don't have the skills or the training to wrestle with an alligator or a crocodile. This person is who they are. And I don't have the skills to meet them where they are. Now, I could get down on myself, like, why don't you have the skills? And it's like, because I never had the training, because I just don't. I don't have the skills for this. Um, Another harder truth is I don't want to wrestle alligators or crocodiles. So I don't have the skills to meet this person because I don't want to. And that lets me know a lot about that relationship. Oh, I may not want to invest in this relationship in the way that I had been in the past. And so there's something here, Michael, about letting a person be who they are, that person recognizing that you may not have the skills to meet this person where they are, and allowing yourself a little bit of permission to be okay with that. This person has a personality, has some issues, has some trauma, has their own legacy that I am not I don't have all the skills to address. If this is a relationship that I want to cultivate, then I need to get some skills. I need to get some training. If this is a relationship that, ooh, might be on the outs, then maybe I don't. That's just something to weigh in the balance, as opposed to what's the matter with me? I should be able to meet everybody exactly where they are all the time. And when I don't, I'm a piece of shit. That's a distortion. We don't always have the capacity or the skill set to meet everybody where they are. And guess what? It's in the opposite too. Not everybody in our life has the skill set or the capacity to meet us where we are. That's the mutuality of relationship. Is that helpful? Did we lose him? Is that helpful, my friend?
Yes, yes, very much. I mean, you know a few more details about this situation than I'm sharing publicly, and so I appreciate that, and definitely I think what ultimately I go back to all the time that I'm struggling with is, yep, that's true. You're a piece of shit. This is proof. This is absolute proof. Things didn't go the way you planned. You've been criticized or whatever, and this confirms the narrative, which then I have to go back to rewriting that story in my head constantly. So, obviously I find time helps and distractions help, but I would just love it to not take so much struggle.
Yes, right. Would,
And, as far as training goes, go ahead.
no, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, as far as training goes, I mean, I feel like that's what I've been doing here for the last year, and it's definitely helped. And I think that under previous circumstances, all of this would have probably led to a recurrence, and probably also would have been quite a different kind of confrontation and argument. But studying boundaries and wise speech, even though at a certain point, I'm critical of how I responded. I think in the initial stages of it all, because this situation was kind of an ongoing epic argument that went on for a few hours. And I think that in the beginning, I approached it exactly the way I should have, and then it sort of devolved after a while of badgering and criticism and other things. So I did feel quite a bit on the defensive. Um, so yeah, I mean, I would obviously love it if things went perfectly, and if I could say, I mastered it, I'm healed, I'm completely enlightened now, and I did this perfectly, which is not the case. But I do still feel pretty good about it all. It's just this kind of rote um, critical thought process that keeps going on that I'm struggling with. So anyway, yes, very, very helpful. Sorry to go on and on, monopolize this conversation. So
You have nothing to apologize for, my friend. I think it's very, very helpful for everybody really to hear. And this whole, again, another distortion is that I should be able to get it perfect from beginning to end all the time, no matter the situation. That's a legacy story that we just constantly have to work on. Um, and I think all of the taking stock practice that you just did about these are the things I did well, these are the things I did well, this is what happened in the past, it would have led to a recurrence. I mean, all of those things are really, really impeccable. Well done. And the other thing I'll just end with remembering is in the 16th practice, which is the mindfulness practice of love, one of the most important things that we can always turn back to is even if we have people in our lives who are really, really difficult and we can't actually have them in our lives. We can't actually have them too close to us because maybe we don't have the capacity to meet them exactly as they are, where they are. We can always, always, always love them from afar. Always. And that loving from afar is may you be happy, may you be peaceful, may you be safe, may you be at ease, may your way be clear. Whatever wisdom you want to share, you can always recite that and mean that. And that is no small thing. It's huge, 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 huge. All righty. Stephanie, let's hear from you, my friend.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
We can. And tell us who your friend is.
That was Ruger. That's Ruger. Yeah, he's always in my space. It doesn't matter what I am doing. When I go to reach for something, he's always sitting on it. Wherever I need to put my feet, he's there. I call him the underfoot. Ruger the underfoot. But thank you for asking. I know that some of you are aware that the month that we were practicing unintentionally for myself, but the month we were practicing grounding, I was in this state of straight manic, realizing that my atmosphere wasn't allowing me to change. And I decided I was going to pack up and move everything, my dogs and myself. And I, it was just so surreal. My budget was $1,000. My credit is shit. I have two German shepherds that are sure they're nice once they get to know you. You know what I mean? So my limitations. It's just how it all transpired. And now I'm right where I wanted to be. This exactly where I wanted to be in this little cabin that is I could spit on the ocean from here. And believe it or not, it's like population 2000. There's no stoplights. There's one gas station, no fast food. And you're never going to believe this. There is a freaking soul center not even a block away from me. My address is 2125 and theirs is 2172. It's Reiki healing, sound healing, yoga. Like literally, it's just, how does this happen? Like, and I had no idea that it was, it's just so surreal, the whole thing, but sorry. Anyways, it was a little bit of a rough start because I ended up purchasing a metal shed that you assemble yourself off of Amazon, right? And I hired this person and from a friend of a friend to help me put it together. And come to find out, he was a tweaker and running on tweaker time, just the whole thing. Just I ended up doing the majority of it myself. I paid him, before the job was done. I ended up out there in a monsoon while my stuff was out in the rain. It was just a nightmare. Anyways, it set me back. Anyways, the shed's up now, and so now I'm just like, I've been here like I don't know. I think I came here the end of September, I think it was, and going into October, I believe. Anyways, and so now I like was so overwhelmed with that whole shed thing. Like I had lack of sleep. It affected my job. Like, so now it's over. Right. And so now I'm trying to like get my feet under me. And I've just been, hard on myself as far as for where I'm at in the process. Like here, I've been here for how long and what have I done with it? You know what I mean? And so had that self-talk, one thing that my therapist said to me, and it really brought an awareness, and I hope that it means something to other people too, is that feelings are not facts. And I take it to even a more of extreme for myself anyways. My feelings are lies. They're liar. You are it, and not necessarily other people have to do that, but they're not facts. But for me, I'm like, sometimes I get angry at them. Like you're not even like real. I mean, it's real, like it's real, but they're, when I'm feeling down and hard on myself, like those are lies, like it's lies. They're not facts. Those things are not, there's no weight to them, And so that helps me kind of like know that, okay, this is going to pass. So just breathe. And, I guess where I wanted to go with all of this is that I'm really like trying to dive my feet into this. And I want to know like what I can do to take part of everything that Soul Center Spokane has to offer. I don't want to miss anything. I want to be a part of all of it. So however I can get connected and be like in it from far, like what can I do? What's the best way? These are happy tears. But
Stephanie, well, the first thing I want to encourage for you, because again, there's that voice, right? I should be doing more. Why did I let this happen? What's the matter with me? Why aren't I farther along? And all of that reflects the unpracticed mind that has not learned to take stock. Taking stock is an instrument of peace in the SatiSeva mindfulness series. And taking stock is this really rich practice of noticing. So may I reflect back to you, Stephanie? You built a freaking shed that you purchased off of Amazon, and you navigated a difficult personality with somebody who's engaged still in negative habit energy. So you're dealing with deceit, unreliability, and all of those things, cravings and all of that. And that has carried an energetic load, and you still navigated through it, and you navigated Mother Nature and the weather. So to be able to take stock of, wow, I did that, is huge. Absolutely huge. So that would be the first thing I would do. I would encourage you to do is the minute you hear yourself say, you should be doing more, you can say, okay, well, let's play with that. Let's see how much I've actually done, and take stock. Write it out, list it, the smallest little thing to the biggest thing. And then just take a moment to go, wow, would you look at that? Then with respect to Soul Center stuff, just follow us on the website, and I would recommend for you the recordings.
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
recordings.
I fall asleep to them. Yeah.
So glad. That's what I would recommend. Okay.
Yeah. So one more thing. So this guy was very triggering to me, right? And I just had got a year clean on the 13th, and so last night I had some very, because they say that post-acute withdrawal syndrome thing is real, and I had the most intense dream like last night that was like I woke up and just it was like ugh, and I was like, oh well, that's what I get for not falling asleep with Julie in my ear. But yeah, so I'll keep an eye on the calendars and whatnot, and the yoga that's done, that's not virtual, right? There's no recording. It is recorded.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's virtual. So you can join virtually. And I think Stephanie and Raven offer the videos, so you can talk to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I
Okay.
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Janine, let's hear from you. Lo's going to send you an invitation to unmute. Look for that.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. Wow, this has just been a very rich Q&A time. And I have a couple different things I'm thinking about. One is when Michael was talking at the very end, you mentioned something about the mutuality of a relationship. And it kind of broke up for me. And I was just wondering if you, by any chance, are able to travel back and just restate simply what you were saying there. That was the first thing. I just didn't quite get the last piece.
Okay. So I often talk about relationships as reminding people that there are two people in a relationship. There's me and all of my capacity, all of my skills, all of my unskillfulness, everything. And then there's another person, all of their capacity, all of their skills and unskillfulness, and so on. And I have to be willing to admit that I may encounter somebody, I may meet someone, and I don't have the capacity to do it, maybe in the way that I want or in the way that they need. And likewise, There may be people who want to meet me where I am, and they don't have the capacity or the skill set to meet me. So the honesty here and the humility here and the karma here is to recognize that it's mutual. It goes both ways. And the invitation is always, what can I do to improve my capacity, my skill set, and heal my own legacy of harm and and continue to mature. That's all I can do.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. That's incredible. Just that much. But really, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on if you see that distortion and delusion are the same things. You know, you talked about working with distortion. That's how we started the whole meditation. It was an incredible story about the cookies. Thank you so much. I only wish I was there to taste them. But do you think that distortion and delusion are the same things essentially? And what would be the value of asking this question and understanding this? Or is this just like me or anybody asking this, just having fun, being intellectual? But I'm kind of am curious, like, is this valuable to ask this too?
Oh,
Are these one and the same?
I think that's a great question. I think that's a wonderful question. No, I don't think they're the same.
Okay.
I think that for me anyway, what's alive for me is a delusion takes a distortion and exaggerates it, is how that would work for me. And a delusion then becomes a way of acting on an inflated distortion. So here's a perfect example in the sense of the cookies. So it was the distortion was, I can't do this. I can't make this cookie. It's too this recipe's too complicated. I don't have the skill set. The delusion is, I believe it so much that I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to act. I'm not even going to be curious. I'm just going to continue to invest in believing this distortion. And then in that process, it kind of covers it in this delusion type way that says, yeah, really, I can't do that. I'm not much of a baker. I might as well give up before I even start. That is absolutely a delusionary way of living one's life.
I see. Wow. Very, very well said. That's so clarifying. Last thing, I heard this really beautiful story. Shoot, I can't remember her name, just who was before me. Anyway, she was telling the whole story about the shed and everything. And she was talking about emotions, right? And how emotions are not true and are a liar. And the question that came up for me is, how does one discern between emotions as true messengers? Because for me, I do, if we're truly being genuine, if I'm truly being genuine, I think and I could trust the emotion as a true messenger. Is that possible? Do you think that's possible? And if so, how would I discern between emotions as true messengers and emotions as reactive?
That's a great question too.
This is what came up for me for her story, because I'm not sure the story for me. I'm not trying to be a conflict averse or anything. I'm just not sure the emotions are constantly not true. So how do I discern between these two things?
This is a great question. And I'm going to put it in the context of the Buddhist teachings as they are alive in me. And it's all about the mindfulness practice of wise speech. Okay. So in wise speech, the Buddha had this incredible teaching about the three gates. So is whatever you're about to say true? Is it kind? And is it helpful? So if it's true, but it's not kind and it's not helpful, then don't speak. If it's kind, but it's not true and it's not helpful, then don't speak. If it's true and it's kind, but it's not helpful, then don't speak. Now, here's the thing that's really important is those messengers have a voice and they come from within ourselves, right? Who knows where they come from? Maybe somebody spoke them in our past when we were a kid. Maybe it's our ancestral legacy that is still welling up as some kind of echo from an ancient past that is saying something. Julia, you are such a piece of shit. That's the message. And I feel awful about it. I feel sick to my stomach. It's so mean. I don't want to believe that, but I do kind of believe that. And now I don't know what to do with it. So, what we can do with that messenger is go, hey, would you look at that? I'm going to pass you through my 3 gates. Thank you very much. I am such a piece of shit. Is that true? If I'm being really honest, sometimes. Sometimes I'm a complete piece of shit. Okay. So is everybody else. I'm in good company. Is it kind? No. How can I say that to myself that's kinder? What's the message I could offer myself? Julia, you're not always skillful. Julia, you're not always kind. Julia, you're not always aligned with your aspirations and your integrity. Julia, you're a work in progress. 3rd gate, is it even helpful to tell myself over and over like a hammer, you're a piece of shit. You're so worthless. You're never going to get anywhere. What's the matter with you? Is it helpful? Sometimes, for whatever reason, I want a drill sergeant. I want a taskmaster with a whip snapping at me, but less and less and less and less as I get older. More and more, I am interested in a different kind of presentation. I'm less motivated by that drill sergeant that's barking in my face. And I'm looking for a voice that's a little bit more sage-like and a little bit more encouraging. So how do I encourage when I hear that distorted language? You're a piece of shit. It's sometimes true. So I'm going to reframe it to something kinder. Julia, you have some work to do on your skill set. That's way helpful. And Julia, you have tools, you have a community, you have intelligence that will get you there. That's helpful. Pass your messengers through the 3 gates. And that's an internal spiritual filter that you can begin to manifest. And I think it would really help discern what's a distortion and what's real. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I just have to say thank you. Like in the words of Shakespeare, thank you, and again, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for affording me such a wonderful opportunity to share that.
Yeah, I thank you. This has just been amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hannah, let's hear from you, my friend. My Irish friend in Wales, I believe. Did I get that right?
Very close to Wales. Yeah, I'm in Cheshire, but yeah, pretty much. I just want to first of all express deep gratitude for everybody here this evening and for the practice and for your input in the email and everything. And actually the question that I had actually kind of morphed and grew during the last few people, which was really insightful and really helpful. And I've actually ended in quite a deeper place with it. So the initial questioning was around how you deal with the gap that can grow between you and your loved ones or people that you're friendly with as you go deeper into your practice and you find softness and forgiveness and love, but the people around you aren't on that journey yet, and that's not their legacy. And then the alligators and not having a skill set, and I was like, okay, cool. So that helps with that a lot because the I'm talking about primary relationships here. But then that led me to want to ask a question that is, I guess it's from my inner child. So that was adult Hannah asking how I deal with adult now. And I'm doing a lot of inner child work and getting to know her and protecting her. So how do I go about, because I knew the answer also would be loving kindness towards those people and wishing them well in their suffering. But how do I practice that and not forsake or betray my inner child who's incredibly hurt by these people and continues to be so. So how do I honor her first, but also release myself from the current real life adult sort of flawed, imperfect relationships that are ongoing that I'm trying to make sense of out of love, but I'm not, that's not the team's not on board with that. So yeah, how do I, if you've got any input, I'd appreciate it.
I want to make sure I understand what's happening here. I really love the idea of you're invested in making all these changes in yourself. You're getting to know your younger self, your child self, your adolescent self, and the primary people in your life are not on board with any of that yet for themselves or maybe even for you. Am I right in that?
Yeah, like my partner is not one of those people. It's my family of origin, um, specifically father, mother, sister, who would be people who would have had a lot of emotional and emotional neglect would have been most abuse, but there was lots of a little bit of physical abuse and stuff too. So it's what's big for me right now is processing and recognizing a lot of that it was actually a lot worse than I have up until this point been letting myself acknowledge. So within that, there's so much inner child stuff. So I want to put her first for the first time, but I also don't want to do that in a way that continues the, you know, uh disliking and I can't be with you and I don't want you, that all of that stuff. Like I want to come from a place of loving kindness, but
Mhm.
I want to do it in a way. Then it's my inner child asking that. It's a child asking, what do I do? How do I do that? She wants to know. So does that make sense?
Yep, yep. So what's coming alive for me, Hannah, is in the SatiSeva book, there's a whole section called boundaries, and we refer to them as the balaclohe, and it means in Gaelic stone wall. So stone and wall, balaclohe. And you have them all over where you are in the world. All of those beautiful, beautiful stone walls that roll with the landscape that separate this from that. And so that's the boundary to work with. You have built a beautiful stone wall around your space. And your inner child, bring out the sidewalk chalk and the glitter glue and decorate your stones that are on your side of the wall. And then your family is on the other side of the wall and they're in their space. You can see them, they can see you. Boundaries historically for people often energetically carry the tone that you expressed, which is, I don't want anything to do with you. You can't see me. I can't see you. We're not going to understand one another. And that's that. And that's the only way that I can feel safe. And that actually might be true. But the whole truth is a little bit broader and a little bit more open. And so the boundary practice is I'm going to take some time for myself and I'm going to go into my own space. And if your family's like, well, what's the matter with you? We all want to get together and why don't you want to play with us? Well, Yeah, I'm sorry that my actions are disappointing to you. You're going to have to look at that. I'm going to take care of me. Well, you should be over on my side of the space doing it the way I want to. I hear you, and I'm going to continue doing it my way. It's just about letting people have some space to hold their own feelings, to work with their own disappointment. If they start throwing stuff into your space, you just pick up those stones and say, I'm sorry, you dropped this in my space and it's not mine. And so you put that on your wall, you put that on your altar of understanding, and you say, this is not mine. I'm not going to take that on. Hannah, you're this, that, and the other thing. Again, that's yours to look at. I'm not going to take that on. Now, that's one way of working with this. The other way that's really important, and I see this all the time, is we don't let our loved ones in on what we're doing. We just sort of project it or inflict it. I'm making all these changes. I'm doing all of these things. I've actually changed the rules of the game that we've been playing for decades. And I'm sort of expecting that you'll just come along with it because it's what's good for me. And then when they erupt and they're like, wait a minute, I don't want to play this game. Nobody invited me. You're just telling me what to do. We have to give them a little bit of grace and a little bit of allowance. And the way to do that is saying, hey, I'm actually doing a lot of deep spiritual work, so I'm going to be engaging with you a little bit differently from now on. I just want you to be aware of that. Well, can you let me know what those differences are? Yes, when they come up, I'll be sure to let you know. But all too often, we just act and then we expect people to come along. And then when they don't, we get mad. But I think it's really important to model and to express what we're doing and why we're doing it, and to really limit our expectations of others, to know that what we're doing is for ourselves. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Question in the chat. Give me some info for it. You might.
Okay, let me take a look.
That's the last one, 1217.
The question is, what Buddhist tradition is this? Where can I find readings about this and or access recordings? Isn't that wonderful? This Buddhist tradition, honestly, I think it's the Buddhist tradition according to Julia, which isn't much of a tradition, I'm afraid. Sorry, friends. So Lo's like, that's not true. It's kind of true, and it's not the whole truth. There you go. So this is a Buddhist-inspired tradition that comes from multiple sources. One is the tradition of Thich Nhat Hanh and the Order of Interbeing. The other is the Mahayana tradition and even some of the Theravada traditions. It's mostly a focus on mindfulness as it lives in me. Where you can find the readings are in the book called SatiSeva, Reimagining Recovery and Support. It's available on our website. You can also purchase it wherever books are sold. And the recordings are also on our website. You can find them. That website is soulscenter.com. And Lo has posted in the chat the link to everything. A little bit of a backstory here. I've been a Buddhist practitioner for a long time, and these are how these traditions have really come alive in me and worked me over and ironed out the very deep wrinkles of my own linen type life. And I've really just found a voice, I guess, and there are many times where I'm like, no, don't say that, don't write that, don't share that. And I'm learning to listen to that voice, to honor that voice, and to write, speak, and share anyway. And I'm so grateful that there are people who resonate with it enough to inspire me to keep writing, to keep speaking, to keep sharing. And more than anything, the invitation is to model and to recognize I'm just doing what we're all invited to do. And that is to listen to this ancient wisdom and see how it comes alive in each of us. That truly, as far as I'm concerned, was the main message of the Buddha. I mean, here was this guy who tried on all of the religious and spiritual cloaks of the day, and he just decided to say, you know, I'm gonna make the one that fits the best for me. And the thing that I love thinking about the Buddha during his meditations and his enlightenment is I like to create a Buddha in my mind that is less holy and more human. So I like to imagine the Buddha crying when he had cravings, being sick to his stomach when the temptations came along. I like to imagine the Buddha with a bloated belly and gas and indigestion and vomiting and gagging like we all do, right? That's the fodder, that's the fuel for our own awakening. I imagine the Buddha had friends. I imagine the Buddha having people who betrayed him and lied to him, people who were incredibly encouraging and wise and inspiring. We are all, each of us, called to be Buddhas. And look at the face of the Buddha here on this screen. So many different faces, so many different expressions, all of them, every single one, divine. I hope that answers your question. Does anybody in Soul Center want to share anything? Nance, you want to share something?
The youngest one here.
Thank you.
Of course.
I just wanted to share because when you were talking about the cookie, you know, I actually was brought to tears because it made me think about you know, that inner voice of, you know, I can't do it. And the whole thing of when you want to do something but you don't want to do it, and you'll find a million things to do instead. And so, you know, I've kind of shared with you about this wanting to sew for a long time, right? And I have this craft room, and I've got all this fabric that I've, you know, stored for years, and I've done some sewing. I've made some quilt tops and things like that, but I've wanted to do some clothing and different things, but I'm very intimidated about sewing. And you know, in my craft room, though, I've made this wonderful space where I go down and do my meditation and I do my reading. And I had met this lady that's going to come and do some private lessons in January or the end of January, 1st of February. And yet there's this inner voice that keeps telling me, oh my God, I'm still not going to be able to do it. You know, the dyslexia is going to come in. I'm gonna have her come, and I'm gonna just frustrate this poor lady. The poor woman's gonna come, and I'm gonna drive the poor woman crazy because I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm not gonna be able to do this. And so there's the other part of me that just started doing the no, I'm going to start writing and manifesting. No, I'm going to be a wonderful seamstress. But also the Julia too, that I'm going to allow what I make and what I do to be perfect. It doesn't have to be. I'm not sewing for Vogue. I'm sewing some pantaloons so I can have some pajamas to sleep in for myself, for God's sakes. You know, I'm not sewing for Vogue. So it's like I just need to have things. It doesn't have to be perfect. And so that's what brought me to tears, is when you said how you were creating it, and then it wasn't perfect, but it was perfect.
Totally.
And one of the other things that you had said is that you said I might not be good, but I have, like the intelligence to learn. And that really hit me, because it's like, okay, it's also what about writing and manifesting. It's like I keep telling myself, I can't do this, I can't do this, but it's like, yes, maybe I am not good enough yet. I don't have the skill sets yet. And this is why this woman is going to come and teach me, for God's sakes. And I have the intelligence to learn from her. So, I'm so grateful for this group, for you guys, for the book, for everything. And so thank you.
You're so welcome, Nance.
Because I can get that inner critic to just sometimes just shut up, or quiet down.
Or come sit and sew with me.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing too. I really appreciated I'm going to disappoint her. I'm going to frustrate my teacher. I'm going to do all of those things, as if this is again a distortion, as if I am responsible for everyone else's feelings. And the boundary, the healthy boundary, the real act of love is to remember they're going to have their feelings regardless. And I can only be responsible for myself. And if I do cause disappointment, if I do cause frustration, it is their responsibility to bring it to my attention. It is my responsibility to meet myself with humility and openness and honesty so that I can learn and grow.
Well, and I think all of that comes from, the curiosity. Where is that coming from? And it does come back from, as a young child, having this dyslexia. And when I was young, in my generation, they didn't know what it was called. And it was just called, okay, you don't know how to read, you're just a dummy or something. And from that, well, then of course, down the road, I did learn how to read. I overcame that. And so it is a wound in me. And so it is, and still when I'm cutting fabric, it's like, okay, now it's your other left and not your other right. But now I do laugh about it more as I get older, but it's that fear that comes, and it's like, oh, but it's true that I have that, but that's not the whole truth. And so I have to look, it's like, wow, would you look at that? I can see that now. And as an adult, I can kind of step aside and say, wow, yeah, that's true, but that's not the whole truth. So
it's a powerful instrument of peace. It really, really is. Yes. And I'd like, you want to say something, Nikki? We have just a minute or two.
You mentioned earlier in the meditation about how you walk into one of your rooms at home and you look at yourself in the mirror and be like, oh, hello, you. I'm kind of going through that in life right now, trying to rediscover myself. And part of my work with my therapist too is kind of working with especially boundaries. That's one of my biggest struggles right now, is learning boundaries, learning how to set boundaries appropriately and things like that. But also, one of the things I'm trying to discover, and what I'm part of my homework to myself, is we word some things in my therapy as what are some of my non-negotiables? And I don't know. That was something that was kind of surprising when she asks that, when she's like, well, what are your non-negotiables? And then put that back into your practice of your boundaries. And resilience is actually kind of be one of my 2026 words of meditation. So I guess my question is, when you are setting yourself boundaries and or thinking of your non-negotiables and or discovering yourself, like you said, talking to yourself they're another person in the mirror, what are some skill sets or advice you give to someone that is trying to learn or just basically learn things about themselves like that, and boundary setting and or learning what your non-negotiables are?
My number one advice and encouragement, Nikki, is take your time. So the thing about the balaklohe, the thing about boundaries, is these are the walls you build come from your experiences and they emerge like stones from the earth when they do, and you're able to collect them at different seasons. So, for example, when the earth is frozen, you can't dig up stones, right? You have to let them sit for a minute. So maybe these are things in your life, even non-negotiables, that you're at a season in your life where you're like, oh, it's not clear, not because there's something wrong with me, but because maybe it hasn't thawed enough to reveal itself yet. So to be patient with yourself. Stone masonry is a very slow, methodical, artistic form. So meet your boundaries with others in that slow, methodic, artistic way. You are building an altar of understanding. Remember, we are cultivating healthy boundaries with people, usually because we want to better understand them. We want to better connect with them. We want to have a more sacred bond. We build fortresses and blank walls toward people we don't want in our lives. So you have to determine who's this person. Is this a wall that I just really don't want them in my life and I'm pushing them out? Or is this someone with whom I really want to connect with? I really want to understand. In order to do that, I have to first understand myself. And those are the stones represent all of your experiences. Here's the stone of anger. That's going to go on my wall. What does it tell me? Here's the stone of joy. What does it tell me about my life? Here's the stone of temptation, of craving, and so on. And the more understanding that you have about yourself, that inward gaze, when you look up, you're going to better understand others. Is that helpful?
It is. Yeah, that's kind of like what I'm trying to learn to do, is just to look inward and not be afraid, I guess, to look inward. Because I'm like, and I would say like I'm a completely different person from, especially when I started this practice only a few months ago, but especially like in my sobriety and stuff, I'm trying to figure out who I am as a 35-year-old woman in today's age and stuff. So I'm also like diving into spirituality for the first time in my life as well, through this practice and through other practices and stuff. Yeah, so I'm just kind of like trying to seek advice on how to like really let myself look inward and not be afraid to do so, I guess.
Here's my encouragement on that. Be afraid. Let yourself be afraid. And let yourself, when you notice that you are afraid, don't look. It may not be time yet. So that's that trusting thing, where if you're so afraid, don't go there. It's not time. Your mind and your spirit and your body are probably telling you, you don't have the skills yet. Don't push it. It's okay. And besides, over here is where I really want you to pay attention. And then you can find something new that's revealing. And maybe it's a tool that will then help you look at the more fearful place.
That is very helpful.
Okay. You're welcome. It's permission, it's sort of like standing before a really scary, dark hallway or basement. And you're like, oh, I know I need to go down there. But why do I need to go down there? Well, I'm curious, but I can't see.
Yeah.
So it's not time. Wait until you get a candle or a flashlight, and then you can go down there and have a look-see.
Yeah. I like that perspective, just because it's also, I'm trying to find, like I was telling my therapist, I'm like, I have to slow down is what she tells me every time, because she says I'm burning the candle at three ends. But I'm also trying to discover me. Like I was telling her, I was like, I don't know what my favorite flower is. I don't know what my favorite, like whatever, like I have like my favorite colors and stuff like that I'm discovering, but I'm just trying to sit with that too, where it's also, what do I like? But I'm like, oh, also shadow work. What are my non-negotiables? I don't know. I never really thought about it. What are my dislikes? I have many, but still I haven't really confronted them. I'm like, and I have like a whole like shadow work type journal that I'm going to be working on. But it was just kind of like surprising the last couple of weeks where she's like, what are your non-negotiables? I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, well, once you figure that out, be mindful about it and apply it to your boundary setting. I was like, yeah.
And I think a more generous perspective is to get away from the idea that we'll have it all figured out and that we have to be in a hurry to figure it all out, because then we'll be able to live our perfect life. Right. So this is really about keep figuring it out.
Fair.
This is a process.
Yeah. It just like was surprising as like a person, like I ask these kind of things to like my friends and family. But if someone asked me these things like, oh, what's your favorite flower? What's this business? I'm like, I don't know. So it's just a weird time in my life. So I was just like, oh, like hopefully maybe someone else can resonate with what I spoke about as someone in like their mid 30s trying to figure out who they are in life. But also it's just a new feeling for me that I'm trying to navigate. So all that advice was really grateful, because I did feel like, especially for me, like, as I was saying, I'm kind of like I'm in a go set mindset, unfortunately, right now. And I'm constantly being told to slow down, meditate, go to the river, meditate in silence. Still need to go do that. But I also am like, oh, I should know these things. I should be able to just say like, oh, I know myself, but I don't. And I'm like, I guess ashamed, or like I feel stupid about it. But that perspective of like, it takes the time, it takes looking at the stones and building it up. So that's extremely helpful in that perspective, because I was going to try to go journal about it tonight so I can talk about it this week with my therapist. But I was like, maybe I'll just talk about a couple points until I'm working on it. But yeah.
That's beautiful. I think one of the nuggets permission slips we can give ourselves is ask a question. What is my favorite flower? And then give ourselves a month to find the answer.
That's beautiful.
You know, what if we gave ourselves a month?
Does there have to be one favorite flower? Why can't you like a lot of them?
Exactly,
Nancy's like, does it have to be just one favorite flower? Could it be many?
But like,
Just
I'm
be
like
curious.
it's
and
like even
might
like I don't even know.
change. I mean, my favorite flowers have changed.
Right,
through
exactly.
years.
Nancy's saying her favorite flowers have changed over the years.
Exactly, yeah.
It's really beautiful. And this is about, again, we can't slow down if we're trying to acquiesce to a taskmaster. I have to slow down. It's bad that I'm burning the candle on three ends. Well, why? That's a lot of light. That could be actually kind of cool and beautiful. Why is that such a bad thing? Again, this is framing everything in duality. So if I'm a busy go-getter, that's bad. Slowing down is good. The nature of reality is it's both. And so again, what we're trying to harmonize is I'm in a place of going and doing, and I'm learning how to insert moments of slowing down. So the trick is, when I do slow down, can I take stock of that and praise myself and encourage myself? And when I'm in that high energy, active doing place, can I also treat that with some respect, some dignity, some encouragement? That's the question. How can I be helpful to myself in all the ways that I show up to this life?
Thank you.
You're welcome. One of our Sangha members says, my favorite flower is whatever is in front of me. I love that. We heard from another Sangha member that says, I believe discovering ourselves is a lifelong process. It is. And it's so easy to say and so hard to do. It's like, one of my favorite Buddhist teachers, Pema Chodron, likes to say, okay, so take in this teaching and then practice it for 10 years and then come back and tell me how it went. I'm going to give you an assignment for a month. Just take it for a month. I mentioned on Wednesday that we would play with an instrument of peace called The Thing I Like About Myself, or The Thing I Love About Myself Is, and I forgot to do that today. So I'm going to reiterate that. And thank you all for staying, because I know we're running over. So The instrument of peace, in this really playful way, is to tell yourself, and you also have to tell someone else, the thing I love about myself is, and what is it? And I shared with the community on Wednesday that my nephew had one of my favorite ones, which was, the thing I love about myself is I can wait until the movie starts to eat my popcorn. And I really love that one. The thing I love about myself is I love coffee in the morning. Like, I love it. And I sit down and I have that first sip, and it's just so fantastic. The thing I love about myself is I know when to leave a space where I don't feel safe, or more importantly, when I feel bored. And I do not have a poker face. So if I'm bored and disapproving, I wear it on my face. And I leave the space because I don't want to, it's not helpful for me to bring that expression to whatever space I'm in. So that's something I love about myself. I really try to bring a presence that is joyful and loving. So I'd like to end our practice today on that note. And I'd like to bring into our awareness the purpose of all of this. So I'd like to invite you all to come into a noble posture in the body. Sit nice and tall for just a moment. And I'd like you all to just entertain in the mind and in the heart that we are so much more alike than we are different. Past people dealt with the same stuff that we're dealing with now. Details may be slightly different, little unique idiosyncrasies define the details, but for the most part, we've all struggled with insecurity, anxiety, sorrow, confusion, distortion. And so any effort that we make to understand ourselves, we are by extension, energetically putting out into the world somewhere someone is feeling as I do. They're down on themselves. They're hard on themselves. Their expectations are distorted, and they are limiting their magnificence. They may not even be aware of it, but I'm aware of it for myself. And may my awareness create some ease and some clarity for others. May my awareness become their awareness. May my kindness become their kindness. May my self-acceptance and understanding become their self-acceptance and understanding. May the love that I cultivate and curate for myself spread into the world, and may it find anyone truly despairing, lost. And may they just have a moment, a flicker of hope, of resilience, of tenacity, something that reminds them, keep going, you're worth it. I really look forward to January's practice, friends. We meet on the first and third Sunday and Wednesday of every month. We're going to begin our practice in January in the first mindfulness practice of awareness. It is the cultivation of awareness, and I hope you can join us. Please check out the Soul Center website. check out the audio recordings, check out all the wonderful activities we have coming up. Starting next month, we've got a year-long practice with me on working with meditations for spiritual well-being. And this is addressing issues with that really do a number on our mental health. Check that out. We've got a course on SatiSeva. It's a 5-month course, once a month, a day-long retreat, among other wonderful, wonderful things. Happy solstice, friends. May this turn toward the light be an invitation for each of us to turn toward our own light. The light out there is the same light in here. May we use meditation and reflection to breathe this ember, and may we allow its space to glow. May this light guide the way, and may it be a guiding source for others. I see no greater expression of love and connection than that. Have a wonderful afternoon, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.